Previously on Vegan Postmortem.
Sentience is crucial for granting rights, since the ability to feel and experience is what makes the concept of rights make sense.
Chapter 1: Animal Slavery.
In this video, I'm going to point out the similarities between the African slave trade and the modern animal slavery. I want to be very clear. I think animal agriculture is animal slavery, which doesn't mean that I'm equating black people to farmed animals. But to be fair, even if I was, the equation is only problematic if you think black people not having rights is abhorrent, but animals not having rights is fine. If you think the way I do, that both are abhorrent, the insult of the supposed equation disappears. One thing that I can fully understand emotionally from my own history as a Jew, the tactic of calling the subjugated people in animal terms was done to degrade them and downgrade them from humanity. It seems that even generations later, it still works. We internalized these tactics and are implementing them ourselves. We think so little of animals that whenever what we do to them is done to people, it seems so barbaric, but we never look back at the animals whose treatment we use as the baseline for barbarity and reflect on it. But there is no need to equate black people to animals in order to say that animal agriculture is animal slavery. The two enslaved populations can be unequal and different, but both deserving of rights, and slavery is a word that describes the removal of such rights. Again, using my history as a Jew, I can empathize with some words feeling too grand to use in regards to anything else, but that's an emotional response that I had to let go. The history of my people is not diminished if the same words are used to describe the systematic extermination of Native Americans or Armenians or cows. I know that usually the word slavery is describing the violation of human rights, but that's why there is another word there. Animal slavery. It's the same way that we understand that butter is to be made from dairy, but if I add peanut or vegan in front of the word, I signal that it's similar but different.
Chapter 2: Property.
Slaves in Kansas. San Mago Journal, August 10th, 1855. The Missouri-Kansas legislature has passed the following law for the protection of slave property in Kansas. It will be seen that decoying slaves from their masters is a capital offense. If any person shall entice, decoy, or carry away out of this territory any slave belonging to another, with intent to deprive the owner thereof of the services of such slave, or with intent to effect or produce the freedom of such slave, he shall be adjudged guilty of grand larceny, and on conviction thereof shall suffer death. Animals in the agriculture industry, and in fact in any relationship with humans, are considered property, and although there are some welfare rights, especially when it comes to pets, humans own animals. Animals are ours to hurt, to violate, and to kill, according to the law.
Chapter 3: Control.
Edwardsville Spectator, September 20th, 1823. If the slave marries, says Storch, it is because his master either wishes it or allows it. If he becomes a father, his children are born slaves like himself. His authority over his wife and children is subordinate to that which his master exercises over them. He is first a slave, and then a man. The control of reproductive rights is an integral part of profiting from the animal slave. In modern animal agriculture, this is the way to create new slaves in perpetuity. On farms, animals are segregated by sex so that they don't reproduce naturally. Their reproduction is scheduled, controlled, and executed in a horrific manner, and whether or not reproduction occurs is tied up in economic calculations.
Chapter 4: Prejudice.
Edwardsville Spectator, September 20th, 1823. A slave is one despoiled and robbed of all that the Declaration of Independence holds to be self-evident. The slaves are ignorant, barbarous, and unprincipled, and administer to the vices and pleasures of others is a consequence of their condition. It is alleged that they are the happiest people upon earth, and yet they are deemed as an inferior kind and denied a human or a thinking mind. Societally, we think very little of animals we farm. We call them stupid. We think they can't do basic natural things and need us to take care of them. We think there is nobody in there, that they don't have a mind or a want. We think and act as if they were a biological machine. We do this because we need them to be stupid and terrible in order for it to be okay. Only when we stop looking at them as commodities can we recognize how brilliant those animals actually are and how much we have in common.
Chapter 5, Welfare.
Reopening the slave trade. Sangamo Journal quoting the St. Louis Intelligencer, November 3rd, 1856. But the slave trade per se need not be so revolting an institution. If the slave trade were made by the consent of nations a legitimate branch of commerce, it is easy to see that it would be conducted with a view to economy and profit, and the highest humanity would ensure the largest profit. The horrors, disease, and death of the Middle Passage would give way to comfort, kindness, and protection of life and health. We indeed hear from the animal farmers that it is in their best economical interest to treat their slaves well. The proponents of animal welfare are pacified by this notion because supposedly if the slave is well fed and well treated, then the rights violations are justified. Commercially, it's absolutely absurd, of course, because if you view animals or people as the means of profit, then not taking care of them is more cost-effective, as we can see clearly from the existence and profitability of factory farms. And no matter the welfare, there is that pesky question of rights violations that can't be settled with a belly rub before slaughter.
Chapter 6, Tolerance.
The Dogma of No More Slave States. Sangamo Journal, September 17, 1858. The Washington Union says, even Horace Greeley admits that a properly constituted slave state cannot be refused admission into the Union, and this too in the face of the Philadelphia Platform of 1856. There is not a line or a syllable in the Philadelphia Platform against the admission of slave states into the Union. Never, at any time or in any place by categorical declaration or legitimate inference, has the Republican Party committed itself against the admission of slave states. Its platform of principles related to slavery in the territories, leaving the question of admitting slave states to be acted upon when it arises in the course of events, without commitment and pledges, one way or the other. Animal slavery abolitionists, known in society as vegans, are often accused of dogmatism and intolerance toward people who are the majority of almost every society and are consuming animal products. Maybe those accusations are right. Maybe us vegans are intolerant toward those we see clearly as owners and benefiters of slaves. The question is, why would we tolerate such a thing? Would you? For more post-mortem analysis, please subscribe and hit the bell. If you liked this video, please consider grabbing the link and posting it wherever you hang out online. Thank you for watching.